Meghan Markle complained many a times how difficult it was for her to enter into the royal family, but Mike Tindall, who married Zara Phillips Tindall, the daughter of Princess Anne, and actually said instead that it was rather easy. He didn't find it to be much trouble at all. And the trick he claimed to use, if you could even call it that, to really integrate into the royal family is something just rather simple: being nice, which is completely ironic considering that was apparently the question Meghan Markle had to the friend who allegedly set her and Harry up. The one question she had was, is he nice? And just as a reminder, here is their engagement interview where she asks that critical question, which apparently even she herself doesn't live up to.
I didn't know much about him, and so the only thing that I had asked her when she said she wanted to set us up was, I had one question. I said, well, is he nice? Because if he wasn't kind, it didn't seem like it would make sense.
And I think it raises some really interesting questions, of course, about Meghan Markle and her behavior when she entered into the royal family. Because if it was so easy for Mike Tyndall, why was it so hard for Meghan Markle? Apparently, she is a wonderful, lovely, and amazing person, according to Prince Harry. But anybody who's actually worked for her has an entirely different perspective. And I think many other royals do as well. And the Duchess Difficult moniker definitely fits Meghan Markle. So we are going to explore this today because it's lovely to see somebody sort of implode Meghan Markle's narrative yet again, because I think it is actually fairly easy to enter into the royal family. Yes, there are a lot of protocols. Yes, there are a lot of things you have to remember, things you have to do. But if you're nice, much like anything in life, I think it smooths the situation really well. So, we are going to explore this today. But if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany, and I provide compelling royal commentaries. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. And I did want to give a shout out to Anna Lucia Diamonds, and particularly, if I can get it out, my tennis bracelet right here. I absolutely love this tennis bracelet. It is their 2 carat version. And I think there is just something so classic and simple about a tennis bracelet. I wear mine every single day. I do not take it off. And when I see it in the sun, sometimes it just absolutely sparkles and just makes me oh so happy. So if you guys are interested in Anna Lucia, they are lab created diamonds. They have some amazing pieces. All the jewelry you'll hear is Anna Lucia. So if you guys want to have something amazing in your jewelry collection that is classic and elegant, Anna Lucia, of course, offers some amazing pieces. So feel free to check out the link up above. And if you use code ROYAL20, you shall save 20%. All right. So Meghan Markle has this narrative that she's tried to spin for many years now, that the British monarchy is cold. It is challenging to enter in. The people just aren't very nice. Well, is it that they're not nice, or is that she's not very nice? Because Mike Tindall, who married again Zara Phillips Tindall, said that when he married into the royal family in 2011, he found it sort of easy. It wasn't too hard. And so he said basically he boiled it all down to something very simple: being nice to them. And that it became easy. Now, that might seem just so obvious and basic, but I think there's a lot to it, because being nice requires effort. Being nice means that sometimes you don't always get things your way. Sometimes things are uncomfortable. But if you're just somebody who goes with the flow, if you're just trying to be nice, I think people understand that not everything's perfect. Not everything is going to work your way. But being nice, being polite to people, those sorts of things go so far in a relationship. And we've seen Mike utterly and completely integrate into the royal family. In fact, it seems like he is now the actual uncle to Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, because they don't have a relationship with their actual uncle right now. And Mike Tyndall is very much fitting the role. And he's a bit of, you could say, a rough and tumble guy. He played professional rugby, so he is not a member of the aristocracy. And yet he found it pretty simple to integrate in, because what I find so interesting about royalty is that, yes, they are in many ways the elite of society, because to be a royal, you either have to be born into it or marry into it. It's not something you can really achieve. So those who marry into the royal family, yes, it is somewhat challenging, but when you are just simply nice, to them, you don't find it super hard. But Meghan Markle, oh, she did. She did. She shared how she found it just very hard and that nobody in the royal family seemed to understand her, and particularly her hugging, because she is a stage 4 hugger. Really, I don't want to say ticked off, but really was uncomfortable, you could say, to some of the Brits. Because Meghan Markle does not strike me as somebody who takes other people's cultural considerations into effect. So she was forcing herself or onto people, trying to initiate this intimacy that they didn't really want to have. And of course, it rubbed the royals the wrong way. And while the royals obviously could adjust to it, I'm going to tell you why they were really skeeved out by Meghan Markle's insistence on hugging them. But let's hear what she had to say in the Netflix documentary about it.
Even when Will and Kate came over and I had met her for the first time, came over for dinner, I remember I was in ripped jeans and I was barefoot.
And so she puts on this airs of, oh, I was just so dressed down. And she's really trying, I think, trying to make it seem like there's like this class difference and this tension here, which I don't think actually existed. But let's keep going on.
It's like I was a hugger. I've always been a hugger. I didn't realize that is really jarring for a lot of Brits.
But now, so Meghan Markle, she's a hugger. She likes to hug. And she sort of forced her hugging on the royal family. And I don't think they appreciated it. And it wasn't just that Meghan Markle wanted to hug them, but I think it was sort of her insistence, the embrace of behavior. And I think Catherine and William and many of the other royals saw her hugging behavior for the manipulation that it was. She wasn't really hugging them because she cared to hug them. I think Meghan Markle uses hugging and hand holding and those sorts of things as sort of a manipulation, a way to force intimacy in a relationship. And I'm not meaning physical, but just an intimate relationship as if you are closer than you are by trying to initiate this contact. And of course, it is jarring for Brits. And what Meghan didn't consider as well is that maybe she should take initiative and wait and see what they do because she's invading their world in many ways. And she is the novice and she is basically insinuating and putting her values and her beliefs on them by forcing them to hug. And yes, that might be reading too much into it, but I think that's true. If somebody really doesn't want you to hug them and you insist on hugging them, you come across as kind of rude and you come across as a bit abrasive, which of course is many things that William and Catherine would share about Meghan with Harry. Because I decided to torture myself again and go through this book because there's a lot of, you could say, very interesting things about Meghan in here and how she, of course, was not really integrating into it. And of course, it's good to actually recall what Harry has said. So Harry claims that William and Catherine were huge Suits fans, which I still find a bit hard to believe. I feel like there's an aspect of this book that is just Harry's made up delusions about Meghan Markle. And so he went over to meet with William. And after knocking on the door, it opened and there was his big brother. And he said, a bit dressed up. Again, we're seeing this emphasis on trying to make an obvious distinction between classes here. Harry, or more specifically, Meghan, and by extension, Harry, with William. And he was wearing nice trousers, nice shirt, an open collar, just trying to look like a professional dude. I introduced Meg, who leaned in to give him a hug, which completely freaked him out. He recoiled. Willie didn't hug strangers, whereas Meghan hugged most strangers. And he calls this a classic collision of cultures like flashlight torch, which felt both funny and charming. However, I later looked back and wondered if, William expected Meghan to curtsy. And I want to highlight this right here. William didn't hug strangers, whereas Meghan hugged most strangers. What's weirder, somebody who hugs no strangers or somebody who hugs all strangers? I would say the person who hugs all strangers is weirder and acting more bizarrely than the person who doesn't hug strangers. Let me tell you now, if I meet someone the first time, generally I don't hug them. Now, if we become friends, do we hug? Yes. But do I randomly go up and hugging people I barely know? No. It's weird. It's really weird. And I think William was put off by that. Catherine was put off by that. Most of the royals were put off by that, not only because they weren't used to it, but just because Meghan didn't even take any consideration into the idea that maybe that is something uncomfortable for them. And maybe for William, I don't think he was expecting a curtsy, but I think he was expecting a level of formality and a level of respect, which I don't think Meghan gave. She, again, puts her emphasis on people. She wants them, demands them to do certain things like hug her, and yet is miffed when people don't want to do it. Well, Meghan, that's your demand. You're a hugger, so you want to hug people. But a you could say socially conscious person might conceptualize that somebody might not want you to hug them and it's better not to hug them or to take cues and then develop a relationship where you might be able to hug them later. So here's another instance. And again, somebody pointed this out to me, Wendy, if you are out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But Wendy very rightly pointed something out here, which is this whole exchange. So it was their first Fab Four and only Fab Four event with Catherine and William and Harry and Meghan talking about their foundation. And so Kate was on edge. She was obviously pregnant. Meghan, I think, is a very dominating force. And so I think that was why Kate was obviously a bit nervous and says it all came on the heels of an awkward backstage moment. Meg asked to borrow Kate's lip gloss, an American thing. No, it's not, Harry. It is not an American thing. It's a creepy Meghan Markle thing. American women do not do that. I do not ask a stranger for their lip gloss. That would be creepy. I'd rather go sans lip gloss than borrow a stranger's. And Catherine at this point is an acquaintance. She's not even a friend. I mean, you'll be sisters-in-law, but come on. It's not an American thing, Harry. Stop saying it's an American thing. It's creepy. Anyways, Meghan forgot hers, worried she needed some, and turned to Kate for help. Kate, taken aback, went into her handbag and reluctantly pulled out a small tube. Meghan squeezed some onto her finger, applied it to her lips. Kate grimaced. Small clashes of style, maybe? No, Harry. What Meghan did was essentially browbeat Catherine into doing something and forcing her to do something at the spur of the moment. And Catherine was like, yes, I gotta do it. And so she did it, but she didn't want to do it. That's not nice, Harry. It's rude. It's unbelievably rude and arrogant. And in fact, Wendy, again, pointed out that actresses tend to do this right before an audition to throw off the other person. Meghan Markle, I don't think, is a nice person. Yes, she can be charming in certain instances and she can be quote unquote nice, but at her foundations, she is not nice. She's not a nice person. And that is why she couldn't integrate. Let's see if there's something else here. I pulled out a couple of things. So there was, of course, a clearing the air conversation between the couples. And Kate said that she wanted an apology from Meghan. And Meghan said, for what? You hurt my feelings, Meghan. When? Please tell me. I told you I couldn't remember something. And you said it was my hormones. What are you talking about? Kate mentioned a phone call in which they discussed the timing of wedding rehearsals. Meg said, oh, yes, I remember. You couldn't remember something. And I said, it's not a big deal. It's baby brain because you just had a baby. It's hormones. Kate's eyes widened. Yes, you talked about my hormones. We're not close enough for you to talk about my hormones. Meg's eyes got wide too. She looked genuinely confused. I'm sorry I talked about your hormones. That's just how I talk with my girlfriends. But Catherine is not your girlfriend, Meghan Markle. Willie pointed at Meghan. It's rude, Meghan. It's not what's done here in Britain. Kindly take your finger out of my face, which obviously wasn't on the face because they were sitting around something. And then, was it really happening? Harry didn't know, but they hugged, kind of. So Harry goes in. Of course, there were terrible stories about Meghan making her staff miserable and throwing a personal assistant under the bus because she was trying to trade and get freebies, which I'm sure is something Meghan probably forced her to do and why she quit. Anyways, but there were a lot of what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. So many things. But there's one more thing here I pointed out is that William came over to Harry's house and told her Meg's difficult. He said, oh, really? Harry claimed. She's rude. She's abrasive. She's alienated half the staff. Harry, of course, said he was just parroting the Duchess difficult narrative. But it's been several years now, and we have now bullying allegations on 2 continents. Meghan Markle is not a nice person, in my humble opinion. And so when she married into the royal family, yeah, she had a hard time. Not because of racism or any of the other reasons she claimed. It wasn't a culture clash. It was just her inability to do something incredibly simple. She just had to be nice. She just had to maybe take a couple of steps back and learn how the family functions and then try to do some things her own way. That's what most royals do, those who marry in. They wait, observe, and then sort of make the role their own. Meghan Markle didn't want to do that. She came in like a sledgehammer. She was demanding hugs from people who did not want to give her hugs and then complaining that they were rude because they were like, no, I don't want to hug you. She did so many things that I think alienated people, made it difficult for her to have any relations with Harry's family. And I believe that was probably completely by design. Meghan Markle did not want to integrate into the royal family. She wanted Harry to leave the royal family so she could set up the life she has now in Hollywood. And of course, that Hollywood life is cratering underneath their feet because, again, Meghan Markle can't do the unbelievably simple thing that works in nearly all aspects of life. Just be nice. Meghan Markle cannot do that. It's why she's failing in Hollywood. It's why she's failed in the royal family. It's why she's failed with her husband's family and her own family is she cannot be nice. And even in Hollywood, being nice is a huge thing. Do you notice that people, even though they don't have, let's say, a big career in terms of having blockbusters, yet they have so much consistent work in part because they're nice. They're easy to work with and they produce fairly good quality results. Meghan Markle is none of those things. And so people don't want to work with her. Family gets alienated by her. Her behavior alienates people. And I'm not surprised that Catherine and William decided at some point, you know what, Meghan? No, we are not friends and you cannot hug us. Just because you hugged us also doesn't mean you're nice. Meghan thinks that she initiates these sort of contact things that minimizes her behavior. It doesn't. I think it makes it worse because she is trying to portray something that's false. She's like, if I hug you, then you have to be nice to me. That's not how real relationships work. And I think the royal family saw through her right away. Whereas Mike came in being incredibly authentic, nice, easy to get along with, and just wanted to have fun and just was interested in having this new family. And you see it reflected in the private pictures they share every once in a while. They have fun with him. Or even the ones the paparazzi or the press capture. They have fun with him. They enjoy him. Why? Because he is nice. And nobody likes Meghan because she is not nice. She is, of course, Duchess difficult. So, guys, let me know what you think of this video. I'd love to get your thoughts. Let me know what you think about Meghan Markle. Is she mean or is she nice? I'd love to know what you actually think. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Bye.